one God. Why does it take so many different religions, okay, to express that one God?
It's easy answer. I've already answered you. All the world religions, except for Islam.
Why does it take all these different religions? Why can't it just, if there's one God, why is there just one religion?
Can I answer that question? Listen to the response and think what I'm saying. So I'm answering your question directly. Yeah, good man. I'm not trying to condescend. I'm just making you make you learn. So what I'm trying to say is that in all the world scriptures, even in the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Bhagavad Gita, in the Buddhist scriptures, in the Zoroastrian scriptures, in the scriptures of all the major world religions, you get remnants of the oneness of God. So for example, let's look at the New Testament for Christians. Jesus says that there's only one true God and he's the messenger of God.
Where did he learn that from?
Where did he learn that from? He's the one who represents God and he's sent by God.
He learned it in Egypt.
No, he never learned it in Egypt. He wasn't in Egypt at that time.
He learned it in Egypt.
But he wasn't in Egypt, with due respect. Okay, give me a source which shows he was in Egypt learning.
Akhenaten, okay, he learned. Akhenaten was the one who started the One God movement in Egypt.
Sorry. No, that's not the case.
It is.
No, because
Akhenaten was the one.
Okay, let me ask. When did Akhenaten live? Let me ask you a question.
Listen to me, right? It says that Jesus, went around breaking all the false gods or whatever. Akhenaten did that way before Jesus. That whole story has been taken in text.
Okay, who invited Akhenaten to one God?
Who invited?
Who invited Akhenaten to the one God?
What do you mean, who invited him?
Okay, who was Akhenaten? Let me ask you.
He was a pharaoh.
Right, and which time, this is what I'm trying to explain to you, which time did Akhenaten live? Who was his contemporary? Joseph. It was Joseph. Yusuf, and not it's mentioned in the Bible, in the Old Testament. That Akhenaten was the king at that particular time, and he was prevailing over Egypt, and then there was a big famine. So then he was residing at the time, and then he was one who was, he wasn't clearly an idolater, but neither did he have the concept of a one true God either. So at the time of Joseph, then this is not what you call beginning of time. This is well down course of history. This is well down the course of history. I don't know why you're referring to this as an example of that. Akhenaten was a contemporary of Joseph. Joseph was one who was put in jail because he wasn't tempted by one of the leaders of that particular time who refused to have intimate relations with his wife. So he was put into jail. So when he was put into jail, the prevailing king at the time, Akhenaten, as you made mention, let me just finish. It's because okay, who was Akhenaten? Tell me then. You tell me.
Akhenaten was very how can I put it? He envisioned a lot. Okay, and hang on, he envisioned a lot. He did not like the way his people were and how they were acting. Akhenaten, in fact, took people out from Egypt and started and built a new city in the desert.
Right, so let's just repeat that once more, finally. Do you accept Akhenaten was a contemporary of Joseph?
No.
You don't? Why don't you accept that? Because that's the narrative that we've got from the Old Testament.
It actually tells you that Akhenaten was a contemporary of Joseph.
Yes. So we're going. We seem to be going in different directions. Unless you can show me again, understanding that he wasn't. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I shall look for it and I'll get it for you.
No problem. So in the meantime, let's go back to one concept of one God. So as believers believe in that there can only logically be one creator as well. I'll give you an example. If there are many creators, God for thunder, God for lightning, God for air, God for breathing, God for whatever, then just say they all come into conflict with each other in terms of how they want the universe to run. Just say today one God says, I want it to be sunshine. Other God says, no, I want it to be rain. Like, listen to the point. So the point being, therefore, is that if one God has to be supreme, there cannot be an infinite past dependent series of gods. It's like saying you've got all these different chains of infinite regression, which can't be the case.
There's no coincidences in nothing in your mind. Right?
Pardon?
There's no coincidences in anything.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say to you,
there's no coincidences at all.
Yes, I know, I agree. But what I'm saying to you...
No, I'm asking you, is that what you believe? There's no coincidence?
Yeah, it's everything is created. There is no coincidence.
Planned, yeah?
Pardon?
Everything is planned.
Planned, yes. The universe is so infinitesimally precise to its degree that it's mind-blowing. in every facet, from the atoms, the way the electrons and protons run in circularity, where the particles. But so you're dismissing it, but you're not giving me any reasons to suggest otherwise. You see?
All right. Do you believe that the universe was created in 7 days?
No, what we say, we as Muslims say that God created the universe. So these time frames I just made mention so that we can understand this. It wasn't literally a 24-hour cycle. Let me explain. So it wasn't literally a 24-hour cycle. But the Bible says that God created the earth in 6 days and rested on the 7th. I mean, nonsense like that. We don't believe that nonsense. We don't say God rests. The Supreme Almighty God, He doesn't need to have a little kip after doing a bit of hard work. When He simply wills something, He says be, and it is. That is the very definition of the Supreme God. No slumber or no sleep take over Him.
Okay, so from nothing nothing comes from nothing.
Precisely, that's a good point. So what we say as a creator, how can the universe come from nothing? By definition, nothing is the absence of everything and anything. Hence, it makes no sense to say that the universe comes from nothing. Number one.
Well, how can God come from nothing?
Excellent question. So then, what we ask the question, we cannot have an infinite past chain of dependent chain of events. So if you ask the question, where did God come from? Did He come from nothing? So the answer to that is very straightforward. The universe came into existence 13.8 billion years ago, according to scientific understanding. So that something started the universe, something independent, which cannot be a part of the universe. That cannot be, because the universe is a contingent part set of things. Yes, the universe is made up of parts. Something which has to be independent of those parts has to be the real initiator of the universe. So who created God becomes redundant, because if you go on forever, number one, we will not come into the present. If there's an infinite past chain of dependent chain of events, we will not come into the present. Make sense?
Because you're going to need that to come to the present. It steps down.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that if we go on forever and there's no starting point, yes, we would not be in the present. So if everything goes up, for example, just say you're,
But there is a start.
Precisely.
My point is, the starting point. What is the starting point?
That's a good question.
And how can you get God out of nothing?
Right,
how
good.
can you get the universe out of nothing?
Precisely, you can't get the universe out of nothing, because by
You can
definition,
get God out of nothing, yeah?
no, because you can't get God out, because God by definition, listen to my point, what I'm trying, God by definition is independent. So hence God has to always exist eternally. Why? Listen carefully to my point. If God does not exist eternally, then we go on forever as dependent set of infinite chain of events. And if we go on for that, there will never be a starting point. It's like, for example, you go get permission from work to do a particular job, and you ask your boss. So your boss says, hang on a minute, let me ask my boss. And he goes, that boss says to his boss, oh, I've got to get permission from my boss. And that goes on forever. Will you ever get your assignment done, or will you ever get your job done? You won't, will you? So hence, there has to be a starting point. So that, yes.
And that's what I'm saying as well. I know the starting point.
Yeah, so that starting point is the Almighty, who is an independent being.
From nothing. How can you get something from nothing?
Yeah, precisely. So that's, I think what I'm saying to you, listen carefully, by definition, nothing is the absence of everything in anything. So hence there has to be something which is always eternal, which is a creator, who has a conscious will, who has a conscious mind. Listen, for example, a mobile phone.
So, that infinite creator, should we say,
Yeah.
it's always been there.
Yes. Because what's the other possibility? If they listen carefully, just try to, just digest it. If 13.8 billion, if 13, but my friend,
I can believe the chemistry part of it.
Yeah.
In the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
I can believe that.
But then what we're trying to say, because science can go only so far in terms of empirical understanding. This deals in the philosophy of science, something which is in the metaphysical, which is by definition incomprehensible. But if we apply logic and we understand that if the universe came into existence, that means there was a point where there was no universe. Logic dictates that. Now, as me and you speak, if I put my hand out towards you, what we got between us? We got time, matter, space, energy, all these constructs of the universe coming into existence. So something which has so the universe has been created. Some supernatural event has taken place. Listen to the logic.
Earth was created by God.
Yes, everything was created by God. Yes.
So you don't believe that Earth came out from collisions and whatever out in space and then cool down.
Yeah, that's evolutionary. You're talking about the evolutionary process of certain events occurring, giving rise to creation and giving rise to what you call the evolution of how we've come about, for example. So there's no issue with that. We're talking about the very essence of a creator who is beyond the universe, because this is dealing in the matters of the metaphysical. So when you go into matters of metaphysical, which is incomprehensible, but by logic it dictates something has to be independent of the very laws of the universe. Yeah.
But surely, if that independent metaphysical universe cannot start out of nothing as well.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It will require a conscious will, because listen, an inanimate object cannot give rise to animacy. Inanimacy cannot give rise to animacy. So hence what we're saying is that something has to have a conscious will.
I don't think you're explaining this, but I don't think religion can explain it. I don't think science can explain it. We don't understand it.
Okay, so that's it. Yeah, but what we're trying to say, that what are the what we then do, if we don't know, we said we look at the possibilities. There's only 4 possibilities, unless you tell me of a 5th one.
I don't know it. I mean, I'm racking my brain to make myself understand.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
because it is something that's monumental.
Yes, but listen, look at those excellent words you used, monumental. But what does monumentalism really imply? It implies something supernatural has occurred. Now, how can something inanimate and nothing create something that is something would have even if you're saying that nothing would have to, by definition, it doesn't make any sense anyway, what I've just said, because it's the absence of everything and anything. The universe coming into existence, a supernatural event has occurred, something must have initiated it.
Yes.
Right, and
that's where I'm confused with.
Right, and so what we said, that initiation, by definition, has to be beyond the universe and independent of the universe and supreme beyond the universe.
Yes,
that's definitively.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
I understand all that.
Okay.
But for me, for that essence to have formed, surely that essence is not not, as you say, it's always there. It's always been there.
Yes, because what's the other alternative? Okay, so because because by the definition of what we've just spoken about, those 4 residual points. Look, we as human beings can only think what's within our brain capacity. If we think about the plausibility of the creation of the universe, there are only those 4 possibilities. A universe that created itself, which wouldn't make sense, would imply that universe has a conscious mind behind it. If the universe created itself, it's like saying a mother giving birth to herself. Totally nonsensical, number 1. But I'm just making, but what I'm doing a process of elimination. So this because
the basic concept of religion.
Yeah. So what we're saying then, the only then, yes, yeah, because the only then possibility would be a conscious will. I mean, sometimes people who dispute that refer to it as the hard argument of consciousness.
I'd love to be here talking with you, but I've got to go with my grandson.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate your time as well. Thank you. Sorry if I spoke a little bit vociferously.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
fine.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, it's a nice conversation with our friend here who's claiming to be a Buddhist, and we were speaking about the topics that we usually speak about. Alhamdulillah, at the end of the day, when they keep on saying we don't know. We've got the plausible, logical explanations of everything. They don't have those explanations. Their repetitive thing is I don't know. So when we say there are only 4 possibilities, tell us the 5th one, then they can't answer these questions. You see. So hence like Sherlock Holmes, which I commonly refer to say, whatever's left over in the possible circumstances of a particular event occurring, and you dismiss the other possibilities, which we've dismissed, then the thing which is left over must be true. So by definition, the concept of the universe from our creator can only be the plausible explanation. Inshallah, I hope Allah guides him. Assalamu alaikum.